Alrighty, guys, welcome to another episode of Journey to the Pit. I'm Jim Collins, and I have already invited our special guest tonight. But before we get started with our special guest, I definitely would like to go over our disclaimer just to make sure that everybody understands that all information discussed in this interview is going to be for educational, historical, and entertainment purposes only. No information is intended for any legal purposes. All opinions are respective of the individual. So I'm going to go ahead and just wait. We got Mr. Mark Muggs getting ready to come on in. Alrighty then. So we're going ahead to which is John Anthony, Mr. Mark Muggs. He should be coming in a second. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. Collins.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So everything is clear. Guys, all the viewers out there, if you're watching, if just somebody can post that, that the video is clear and also the sound is clear, so we can make any adjustments. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? We can make any adjustments before we proceed. But again, I just said the disclaimer. I also just said one more time, since Mr. Mark Muggs is on video now. So again, the disclaimer is all information discussed in this video is for educational, historical, and entertainment purposes. None of this information is intended for any legal purposes. All opinions are respective of the individual. So it looks like, Mr. Mark, we got a lot of people joining. We had 71 already, and I don't even think it's 60 seconds in.
All right.
You got a lot of people that that's been anticipating this interview, which is great. So it looks like we got enough to go ahead and jump on in. So let's get started. Won't you, since I already introduced you, won't you just go ahead and take us back to the beginning? You know, where you're located, first of all, and then take us back to the beginning.
Okay. I live in Palestine, Texas. As far as when I started in chickens, I'm third rooster, just third generation rooster man. So my grandfather, my father.
Okay.
Me and my uncles, cousins, and we were originally out of Riverside, California. That's where I started. Mm-hmm. And then
out of California, huh?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. I was there raised in Riverside most all my life, or at least good portion of it. Then I came to Texas later. I've been here pretty good while, almost 20 years now.
Okay, 20 years, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Mark Muggs, how long would you say you've been dealing with the chickens? About 25 plus years, or?
Well, I was raised with them, so I mean, we always had
pretty
chickens.
Much as long as you've been
so
living.
I'm in April 2nd, I'll be 48. So as far as messing with chickens, probably since I was 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
So, long time.
Wow. A long time. Hey, that's a good thing. So you are third generation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with that being said, with being third generation, did you start off, how did you come up with the Mark Muggs? Was it kind of inherited, or is it something that you started?
No, that, as a kid, we just had different kind of chickens. We'd have 4, 5, 6 years old. They wouldn't give us real nice game chickens to mess with. We just had little bannies and things like that. And after we got to where we knew what we were doing, we could mess with the real roosters, which was my grandfather's and my father's roosters. Because some of them were rough to handle, and we're 4 or 5 years old, so we just had that. After I came to Texas, I met a man, and real nice guy, and I didn't know him well, but I went over to his house. We talked chickens, things like that. And one day he called me. He said, "Listen," he said, "do you like these black chickens I have?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "They're nice." He said, "I want you to come get them all." And for nothing, he just said, "Come get them." And so I talked to him. He says, "Don't let anybody know that I gave them to you, because people want them, but I don't want them to have them. I want you to have them." He didn't even know me hardly. It was really.
How old were you at that time?
Okay, I started with the Mugs in 2003. in 2003.
Okay.
So that's been 16 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so I'm about 32 at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, and he gave them to me, and I liked the chickens, but I really wasn't hounding them about them or anything. And to be honest with you, it's really a God thing, the way I look at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I took the chickens, and what I did was I took those mug roosters, and I didn't like them really good all the way because some would come 6'6", some would come 4 pounds. They just were all
Wow.
over.
So,
They were all over the place in
okay.
their weight. So what I did, I had a family of Kelsos that I got from a friend of
Okay.
mine. I put the mugs with the Kelsos half and half. They came out really good. Then I went back and bred them again 3/4. And so eventually I bred the Kelso almost out and creating the chickens that the mugs would go about 5 pounds to 5'8". And so
Okay.
from then on, it's just been 16 years of messing with them. So
16 years. So let's go back real quick. So when you relocated from California to Texas, did you bring any chickens with you? Or did you start all over fresh?
no, sir, I started fresh here.
Wow. Well, tell me this then. Next question. What made you not bring any chickens? Was it because of just the relocation, or did it have anything to do with the chickens itself?
Well, at that time, I had a new baby at that time and so it was a lot of things that just couldn't have them at that time. And
Right.
so we had some old, chickens we'd mess with, but nothing like, really good chickens. So
Right.
time just didn't allow for it.
Right. Right. So it was a whole fresh start. New
Yes, sir.
family, new family, no chickens. And so tell me this then. What made you not, once you did start to get acclimated and settled, what made you not bring the chickens that you were raised up on?
Well, those were really not my chickens. They were my father's, my uncle's, my
Got you.
grandfather's, and they started with
Got you.
those. So let me back up a little bit. When we were kids, we grew up relatively poor, and so
Okay.
everything we had was at my grandfather's or my uncle's. My family didn't have a lot. Um,
Right.
a lot of people don't know this, but it was very difficult for us growing up.
Right.
It's hard to even be honest with you. I don't even like talking about it too much because I get it just a
No,
lot
I
of bad
totally
memories.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally understand.
but at the same time, it was a blessing because we we did make it through those
Right.
tough times. We're sleeping in the back of a truck. It was just a
Wow.
rough time. But anyways,
Right.
I had a dream when I was a kid that I wanted to own my own game farm. I wanted to have my own
Wow.
chickens and my own things. And it was a far off dream at that time. But when I came to
Wow.
Texas and God gave me them mug chickens, I believe the Lord gave them to me. It was such a blessing to get them. And that's why when I put my Kelso into them, I said, I'm going to make my own family. If they work out, they work. If they don't, they don't. But I'm going to see what I can do. Because I knew how to breed chickens. But even though you know how to breed them, doesn't mean two families is going to go together good.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So tell me this. So when the guy gave you these black chickens, what were they? What type of chickens were they?
Well, he said they were mugs. Be honest with you, I don't know. Because he said they came out of California about, I think, 1983. Okay. And then he got
Okay.
them. And so I'm just going by what he told you, what he told me. He said they were mug chickens. They could be anything for all I know. I just go by what the guy said.
That's right. That's right. No, I totally understand. Okay, so you get the mugs, the guy gives you basically some brood stock
The
that he
whole
had
yard.
already had for, I guess, okay, and I guess about what he had probably about 20
Long
years, huh? From
time.
83
Yeah.
to 2. Yeah, about 20 years. So tell me this. With that guy, since is far back 1983, those black chickens, what type of chicken were they? Not as far as breed, but back then in 83, was it a gaff bird, a short knife bird? What type of chicken was that back then?
No, they showed him in gaff. It wasn't too much in the knife because that's all he shows is gaff mostly. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they were gaff chickens.
All right. And then gaff chickens. Okay, so you said then you infused the kelso. Where did you get the kelso from?
Okay, a kelso came from a friend of mine, and he had given me some peak-home kelso chickens, and I bred mine over them, just hoping they would click. You know, you never know. And they just seemed to do real well. And of course, I've took a lot of flack over the years about my mug chickens coming peak home. And even though I tell people, man, they got kelso and that's why they come peak home, I still take flack over it today. You know, they say they ain't pure mugs. But anyways, I've gotten used to it. So people are like that, you know, they want to cool you down. So
hey, but at the end of the day, as long as the customers are happy, it doesn't, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, you're not hiding it. The things got got kelso in them. You said it from the beginning, you'll say it today, but you just refining them and everybody's satisfied.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess let's take it to the next phase. How long did it take you once you infused the kelso to create what you would call today the Marks mugs?
Well, that's a good question because that was the hard part. Was you just can't breed them together, and unless you have good selection, I mean, or unless you're lucky, one of the two, they're not going to come out just how you want them. So when I first started, first half really good. The quarter, they came nice. But as we went away from the kelso, sometimes hold
on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Can you repeat that? Because it seemed like the video was kind of going in and out. The last part, I think we were able to hear clear. Yeah, the last part that we were able to hear clear is when you said, you know, it's not as easy as just combining two chickens.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you know.
So if you can continue on from there because the video start mixing up.
Okay. When we bred them together and we went 3/4 and then beyond, well, the mug chickens started coming back like they was. Some would come big, some would come small. So I really had to concentrate on, you would think half and half, they would come all over the place. And then 3/4 they would come tighter. And then they would come tighter the next breeding. But actually the half and half come more tighter looking at appearance than the 3/4 did. And so it took a while getting everything. It is, but it took a while getting everything together. And I'm glad you want to sit with the family because I do want to tell you one of the hard things that really was confusing when I was breeding my mug chickens. And I'll tell you this story. I started breeding in 2003. I started shipping chickens probably 2005, 2006. As I started shipping chickens, I would get guys that would say, look, man, I'm doing great with them in the spur, but in the Mexican show, they're no good. Or guys may say, man, they're doing great in the Mexican show, but the American show, they're just not any good. And so I'm scratching my head saying, man, I'm sending the same family to everybody. They're the same family. But what it was, and this is where people get their families sometimes messed up and they go and kill them, is though you may have a good family, but the lines of chickens that you send out, one line off certain hens may be fantastic in the Mexican show, whereas the other hens and cocks may be throwing ones that are super in the spur. And so what I did was I started taking notes. Guys would call me and I said, what's the wean band? What's the leg band? They would tell me.
Right.
And so I'd say, okay, this particular family, this line, it's all the same family, but this line is throwing a lot better for the spur. Guys would call me and say, man, we just won in the Mexican show. Okay, what's the marks? And I would start to take notes and which ones were doing good and which ones. And a funny story is, you know, we recently just had the World Championship Gaff Derby in Mexico.
Right. Right.
Okay, this is kind of a funny deal. I have a certain line in my mug chickens that are really good in the Mexican show. And so I have a partner in Mexico, and I sent them there to him. Well, they're winning really good with them. Mr. Juan Espinoza, he does well with them, and they're doing good, but they're just for the Mexican show. They're small. These particular chickens is inbred on one side, so they'd be about 4'7", 4'8".
Right.
Okay, when they had introduced the GAF championship, the only thing I have in Mexico is chickens strictly for the Mexican show.
Right.
Okay, but I want to show.
Right.
I want to show there. I want to show in the World Championship, but I don't have anything there really what I would say GAF worthy. Let me just put it like that. Be brutally honest.
Okay.
And I'm going up against Jason Daniels is going to be there. Claude's going to be there. You got all these guys, that's got really good chicken. The Garcia brothers, and so Martinez brothers, a lot of good guys. And they're going to bring half and halves or hatch clarets. And I'm thinking it's going to be rough. But let me tell you something. One of the best things I ever did was signing up for that derby and in Mexico and letting my hand on them compete, because I'm not going to hide behind, just because they're not straight gaff birds, I can't show them. We had our Marks Mug t-shirts. We had our Marks Mugs hats. When they put it on the screen, it said Marks Mugs. Because I wanted to show in major competition, even they weren't met exactly for that. These weren't bred for that there.
Right.
I still want to show. And so it was great.
That's
in fact, one of the roosters we went up against when we were there was a gray rooster that Claude had. And I don't know exactly who bred him, but they call him a boozer gray, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Real solid gaff rooster.
Okay.
Long drag fight. So people are all around the pit after the fight was over. Like, man, I can't believe that black chicken hung in there that long with this gray rooster. He's bred for that. So it was good.
Right.
Whether you win or lose, it's that you compete and you don't hide.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But anyway,
that is it, and that is awesome that you even said that, and reiterate that point. The fact that just competing to me is a win. Just competing. And I kind of refer it or use the analogy is like paying to go to college. You go, you're paying for the experience. And no telling what the outcome is going to be, but you will learn a lot, regardless of what the outcome win, lose, or draw. You will learn a lot. But now that you say that, let's go back just a little bit. When you said you had certain lines of chickens that did well for certain shows. Now,
yes, sir.
Like you said, it was the same family, but it was certain hens throwing roosters for certain shows, correct?
Yes. And some guys would tell you, I don't believe that. I believe they're all the same. But like this, if you took 100 roosters, and another guy took 100 and 100 out of the same family, but 3 different lines in that family, I promise you, one of those lines will throw a higher percentage in each spur. In the spur, the Mexican show, or the Filipino show, you're going to see that one of those lines are a higher percentage than the other ones, a lot higher.
Got you. So tell me this. Did you, when you start taking your notes, did it cause you to start maybe, say, single mating? Or how did you kind of fine-tune to make sure that you were getting birds from those particular hens?
We breed sisters. So when they would call and say, hey, this rooster's marked right in band number 362. Okay, let me go look it up. Okay, that's the brother to all these sisters out here. Man, he's fantastic. The other ones, okay, we take those sisters and breed back to the cock. And any time that you find brothers that are good, the sisters usually are worth their weight in gold.
Wow, that is some great insight. So like you said, how you fine-tuned it, first you got your feedback, you took that feedback, you went back to the record books, once you got into the record books, you seen what hens and what roosters were producing what, then you try to find siblings to those and breed those. Now, you said you found the hens that were sisters. Did you
Yes,
do the
sir.
same thing with the roosters?
Well, the roosters is usually the one that they would be showing. So they would, we'd send, say, 10 of them out to Guam or South America or wherever.
Right.
And they would say, man, these are really good, and we did well with them. Well, I'm out in the yard hunting all the sisters down that I could find to those roosters.
Got you.
And then we breed the cock that produced those roosters to those sisters, which are his daughters.
Got you. So that's that. So basically, you start fine tuning it by inbreeding. Is that correct?
Well, more of line breeding. We'll breed the cock to the daughters. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the cocks to the daughters. Now, I'm glad you said that. So this way, why don't you describe to the guests what is the difference between line breeding and inbreeding, and say, give us some examples, so they can kind of see exactly what line breeding and inbreeding is. So let's first talk about inbreeding. What is your definition to inbreeding, and give us an example?
Well, I get this question a lot from guys that message me, and they'll ask, how do I keep my family going? And I want to talk about that too. But
okay,
inbreeding would be brother, sister, half brother, half sister. I don't do a lot of inbreeding. The closest inbreeding we do is half brother or half sister. We don't do full brother, full sister. That's just us. It may work for other guys, but I don't care for it myself.
Okay, now, is it something? Are you saying that because you had bad experiences, or was that pretty much how you were taught?
No, I just don't see a lot of good come from it. People say, well, when you breed brother and sister, you're going to get all the good, but you're going to get all the bad. But unless it's a have-to case and you're going to lose the family, I don't see a lot of benefit in it. Myself, just personally, I don't see a lot of benefit.
Got you. Okay, so let's talk about line breeding.
Okay. Line breeding is of course, it's the father. And what we do, when guys message me, they'll say, how can I keep my family going? I tell them, because I'll sell them a pair of chickens. And when I sell them a pair, if they ask me for advice, I'm going to tell them this is how I would do it here. Because a lot of guys getting into it don't have a lot of knowledge about chickens, and they need help. And if you're willing to sell them the chickens, you ought to be willing to help them with advice.
That's right.
Not just take their money.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
What we do is I'll say, take that cock and that hen and breed them. Take the very best stag that you got, flawless if possible, breed back to the hen. Take the very best daughter, breed back to the cock. Now you have two lines established. You have the cock line, the hen line. That'll carry you for many, many years, and you're set.
Okay, now let's go through that one more time so everybody's clear. You got the original cock, the original hen, right? You send them a two pair, right? You breed that.
One pair.
You take a flawless stag out of that. Breed it basically back to his mama, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, then we take a hen out of that breeding and breed it back to her father or her grandfather.
No, she'll go. The pullet will go back to the daddy.
Got you. Okay, I got you. All right, so that's extremely important. We have a lot of guys that's looking at this, that's trying to start their lines. They went out, they got good chickens from guys like you. They didn't, they just wanted to go out and get somebody who had some established success, spent the money, got the good chickens, and like you say, they need that advice also, not only just to carry their line, but just so they can have some success. So 2-3 generations, they don't have a yard full of trash. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That information right there is vital. So tell me this. So you basically can start out with a hen and a rooster.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's all you need.
Guys,
you need a cock and the hen, and from that pair, you can start 2 lines and be successful.
Wow. And then it'll go back to like Gator was saying the other day, how you start creating your final product through selection.
Yes, sir. That's right. He was exactly right.
Wow, that is truly amazing. So tell me this. What is the purpose of trios?
Well, a lot of guys want trios because, first of all, they get more eggs. They have a hen in case one dies, but a lot of them don't want trios they want a hen from a different line. So they take a cock and a hen from one line, and that cock with a different hen is from a different line, same family. And so they want to establish it that way, but you don't have to. A pair will work.
A pair would work. Wow, I got you on that. And so tell me this, just going back a little bit. So how long would you say what 2002 did you start getting reestablished in the chickens, or was 2002 when you first moved to Texas?
2003 is when I started with my mug chickens. That's when I was gifted my mug chickens, and that's when I had my Kelsos already, and I bred them together. It's been, this year be 16 years.
16 years. And how long would you say it took to fine tune it to what you started to call the Mark's mugs?
Third breeding, you're getting pretty close. By the 4th breeding, you got them pretty tight, because you're breeding away from the Kelso. And they should be. If you're going 6, 7, 8, 9 breedings, they still ain't close to what you want. Probably hadn't selected well.
Got you. That's that information right there. Like I say, is extremely valuable. And your definition, you just defined and explaining the difference between inbreeding and line breeding is extremely important, because a lot of guys getting in it, like you say, they do not have a lot of knowledge. They want to go out, they want to start off with great chickens from the beginning, but if you do not have that knowledge, it doesn't matter what you start off with. You're going to be 8 or 9 generations into it and still not having consistent success. Would you agree?
Yes, sir. Very tough on a guy that's new. Very tough. And I tell you, the difference between now and when I grew up around chickens is at that time, there's a good and bad to it. At that time, it was hard to get good advice from people because they were really tight-lipped. Most of the older guys, they didn't like to talk about their success, how they did things. I don't know that it was they didn't want you to do good or they just kept it to themselves. I really don't know, to be honest with you, but they were tight-lipped with things. So as a kid, I made it a point to really listen because they didn't say much, but if they said something, you need to tune in really good. But the good thing that they did that is so different from today, when I grew up, I never, ever remember anybody that would talk bad about another cocker's, his chickens, his family, nothing. You just didn't. It just didn't exist.
You know what? I clap my hands to that, and I think that was the core of why they called it a gentleman's sport. If you notice, anybody's considered a gentleman is not a person of character that talks bad about somebody else. Period. That's just, and I don't have anything to do with chickens. It's just even being able to be titled as a gentleman. You're not going to find any person that's considered a gentleman talking bad about somebody else. And I don't care what he into. It could be work. It could be business. It could be animals. It could be just, that's why it's called the gentleman's sport. And I think a lot of times, and it could be, well, I don't know what the reason is, but it seems like people are so more susceptible to talking negative about somebody else, and they're not doing anything. That's the kind of confusing part to me, And
let me go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now I wanted to say something at that point. When used to, when someone said something, it was to something positive, or they didn't say much at all. That's the way it was.
Right.
If you watched anything on social media when people went to Mexico for the World Championship, there's guys that's got 3 and 4 roosters, 5 roosters, that was talking so much bad about all the guys, not just all the guys that were there. They talked like, and these guys don't even have chickens. They got like 3 roosters total, and they talk bad, and they don't realize that it doesn't make those guys look bad. It makes you look bad. Be good to people.
That's right.
That's
right.
Anyway,
that is right, and it's more to this sport than just chickens. It's principle. It's a lot of principle. It's a lot of ethics. It's a lot of integrity. It's a lot of other things besides just 2 chickens. And I think some of these people get so distracted and they get so caught up. And to be honest, I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and he's a younger guy, and I said, one of the things about this sport, what makes it so tough to get everybody on the same page, it's a lot of testosterone in this sport. It's a lot of testosterone. And and a lot of times, guys they feel as though they have to rain on somebody else's parade to make theirs shine. And the older wiser men understand that self-performance is what make you shine.
That's right.
Raining on somebody else's parade. That doesn't make you shine. And I promise you, you cannot show me one person that has made his career on raining on somebody else's parade. Every successful person I see in the Rooster game made their mark by their own hard work. Would you agree?
I would, and I do want to say something at that point, because this is the difference. During these 16 years I've had these mug chickens, most people don't know this, and I very rarely ever, I would never mention on Facebook hardly, but since we're doing an interview, I do want to talk to some people because I'm getting older and almost 50, and I don't know how many of these that will be around to do, but I know this.
Right.
I've almost died twice since I've had the mug chickens, and most people don't know that. I worked all night long at a Walmart warehouse, okay, all night.
Okay.
When I got off, I would watch my son, which was a little baby. My son was he might have been 8 months, 10 months, maybe a year old, something like that. So when I got home, I would watch my son. Okay, well, I'm dog tired from all night working. I'd try to get a little sleep, but he would wake up. I'd go out in the chicken yard, get all my stuff done. I'd get ready to go back to work. No time for sleeping hardly. Okay, well, through this time, I got bad sick. I went into a coma for 3 days. And they didn't know if I was going to live, or they didn't know if I'd live or not. That's happened twice. Right now, I work for the state. Okay, I work for the Texas prison system.
Okay.
I work all week and I do my chickens. I average about 3 hours of sleep a night because I get so many messages on my phone. People asking questions. They want this. It's they don't realize the work that has went into this. A lot of people say, "Man, you sell out all the time. I want to know how to sell chickens. They don't realize the sacrifice, what's involved. Family time you miss out on. You better have a good marriage if you're going to do this and work. I can tell you that. If you don't have a good wife, you're out of there."
That's exactly right. And now that you're talking about that, let's shift gears and let's talk. Let's get into the business aspect of it. And I'll just put a couple things out there that we all hear, not just me, that we all hear, and maybe you can give us some clarification and some guidance on this. And one, I always hear, and actually it's almost probably any sport, any animal sport, there's no money in breeding chickens and that. And I used to hear the same thing when I was, raising dogs. Ain't no money in raising dogs. You do it for the passion, this and that. But I kind of beg to differ. And the reason why I beg to differ is due to the fact that I've seen some extremely successful dog breeders that was in the sport. And I have seen some that have been in the sport 40, 50 years and struggle to pay the feed bill. So everyone knows watching how successful you have been in a business aspect of the chicken sport. Why don't you, or if you can, give some of the new guys advice that's getting into it, because it seems like they're always the ones that's quicker to take the advice. What would you just give us some description of how it all works?
Okay. When I first started this, and I wanted to make it to where I could do well financially. When I first started, there was no that I remember Facebook pictures, all these different things. I had a little bitty $10 ad in the Gamecock. That's where I started.
Wow.
That's all I could afford. And so,
wow,
at that time, that's all I had. Well, I'd make a sale or two, something like that, and I was proud of it.
Right.
Well, as I started shipping a little more, and I shipped some to some guys that showed a lot. One of my good friends, Mr. Mike Monroe in Tennessee, and of course he's well known there. He got my mugs from me and started doing really well with them. Then I would ship to other guys in California for the Mexican show, and this is when it was legal, and. But anyways, when I started doing that, I started doing fairly well, starting to do pretty good. Well, let me see if I'll reach over here where you can see something. This is how I started, and I keep these today because you don't see this anymore, hardly ever. If I can do this without messing the TV up. I don't know if you can see these or not, probably not. But I've got these are all letters. I've got no telling how many hundreds of letters. How people used to do business is they wrote you a letter explaining what they wanted, the color, the weight, everything that they needed, and they would put you a money order in a letter, and they put a note in there with the whole deal. Well, I've kept mine. I've got them back since I started. It's really cool, but it's kind of a keepsake deal. Wow. But at that time, it was a chance to be honest, because it's not like social media where they can get on there and ruin your name in 5 minutes. These guys took you at your word that you would send them something good. And so as I started sending good chickens to them, and they would call me back and I could follow up with them, I started selling more. So it was pretty good deal. Let me tell you about some of the bad things, and we'll talk about the good things. The bad things that people don't realize in business is you have no time for yourself, hardly ever. And I mean that seriously. You're either working in the yard. As soon as you're done working, I told my wife the other day, I said, I wish I had a secretary to answer my phone. But then they'd have to know something about chickens. They can answer the phone, but they can't answer the questions. So it wouldn't do me any good.
That's right.
Because it dings all night long. Ding, 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 ding. And you just can't keep up. So you have very little time if you're going to answer them for yourself. The next thing that's bad is the timing. Okay, I don't know what time it would be in certain states, but let's just say Hawaii. I'm in bed at 1 o'clock at night.
Right.
In Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, it's 8 p.m. It's not late for them to call. It's 8 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock for me. Yep. My phone's ringing.
That's right.
It's dinging. So you're up all hours of the night. Now people say, well, just turn your phone off. Well, you can, but I like to get with the people that are messaging me. I like to stay on top of it. That's just the type of person I am. But it's bad. It's bad. It can be bad for your health. Okay, let me talk about where people struggle in the business. If you want to get into the rooster business, this is where they struggle. They'll get a family of chickens. Let's just say, for instance, Clarets. They'll get them from an established breeder. They'll have them for 2 or 3 years. They're doing okay. By the 5th or 6th year, they're not breeding the selecting individuals as well as they should, and the family's going downhill. What they'll do is they'll get rid of the family. Instead of upgrading their selection and talking to people how they can do better, they'll get rid of them. Well, if you're switching in and out of families every 4 years, you're not going to be able to sell a lot of chickens like that because you have no longevity with the family. The longer you're with your family, the more you know them better. The other thing is people will get on Facebook and they'll say, I got this and this for sale. He's in a half a foot of mud, no water. He's got 2 pounds of feed on the ground, and you can tell he's not well taken care of. The business side can be fantastic. We're fortunate to sell out every year. We've done that for, I can't tell you how long. We don't raise a lot of chickens. We hatch between 600 and 800 usually per year. It's very profitable. The rooster business, selling chickens, is very profitable if you have a good name or your name's established. But you can't go from wanting to sell chickens to making a good living overnight. There's no way.
That ain't going. Right. And those are some extremely great points, because but that success, like you said, comes at a cost. It ain't.
That's right.
You know, no 9 to 5, or I get off and all I got to do is just throw the birds out there in the pen, let them breed, put the eggs in the incubator, and I'm gonna sell out. It's a lot more than that's just that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a lot more, and you're gonna sacrifice if you want to make it.
So tell me, all of these things, was it something that you were taught, or just things that you learned from experience?
Now, my work ethic was from my father. Experience as far as business-wise, I look at my farm, and every day when I go out and look at my place here, I don't look at what's right. I look at what's wrong. Is there enough grass for the birds? Are the pens clean? What do the waters look like? Do the chickens look healthy? Do I need to upgrade here? How do I need to fix this? You have to look. You have to be your worst critic. You don't want to just look at this, oh man, my place looks great all the time. You need to say, you know, what can I do better? Those are the people that are super successful, in my opinion.
That's right. That's a very valid point, because it's so easy for, as humans, to look at what's right and not what's wrong. And that's the road easiest travel, that road. But going out on your yard and finding something, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, you got a tight setup. Gator, I visit him, he had extremely tight setup, but like he said, it takes a lot of work, a lot of teamwork also. But it takes that going out there critiquing and paying attention to those fine details to keep that thing fine-tuned and looking good. Yes, so tell me, let's just talk a little bit about, you know, like you said, the business aspect of it. So it's basically setting up a solid breeding program, from selection to care and to maintenance of the yard, and to actually, then the last part is standing behind your product that you're sending out there, correct?
That's right. You know, like we talked earlier, guys know my home number, my cell phone. They can message me on Facebook. Whenever we sell something, we put a video out. I give the leg band, the wing band, the markings. You know, we give them advance, so when they get their chickens, they know what they placed the order for is in the video. Everybody on Facebook can see it. If you told everybody, hey, everybody that sells chickens, put your chickens on Facebook, every one of them, where they can see the cure, the station, how they look, everything about them. Guys don't want to show chickens that aren't well taken care of. So we're proud to show our product because we stand behind it and we've worked hard for it.
That's right. That's right. Because, and that was going to actually be my next part of the question, but you already answered it. Like, what made you start using social media to display with the products that you were sending? But you already done pretty much answered the question, which that's great. I guess that's actually what the letters were for back in the day. Back in the day, the guys were with the money orders and the little the little notes inside there. Right. What you're showing on video is pretty much was what they were requesting, right?
That's right. Exactly right. Because see, they'll call us. They'll say, look, I want something high station, lemon hackle. I want this. And we're going to do the best we can to meet that. And if we don't got it, I say, we don't have it.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about your breeding program. I know we're kind of going through, but that's fine because, this is just like a typical conversation. Everything is authentic and off the top of your head. So let's just back up a little bit and talk about, you said you raise about 600 to 800 a year, correct?
That's what we hatch. Not everyone we hatch makes it because they run loose.
Got you. Got you. Okay, so Do you use natural hatch or incubator? What system do you use and why?
We use both. If I could use all hens, I would do it, but it's hard to
Okay.
raise that many with hens. It really is.
Right.
So we use
Right.
both. The ones that are single
Okay.
mated, we'll usually hen hatch those. The ones that
Okay.
we breed a lot of that we need to have a whole bunch, we'll incubate those babies, those eggs.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. So now we got the eggs. Say we got the eggs in the incubator. Okay. What's the first thing you do when the biddies hatch? They come out the incubator. What you do in the first 3 days?
Well, the first day we put them in there, get them in the brooder, and it's going to be a lot like some of the other guys. We'll give them LS50 the first 7 days.
Okay.
After that, we're going to give them vitamins, and then depending on once they hit dirt, they need some type of coccidiosis medicine. You know, people have different. You can use Corid. I don't like the Corid liquid, but the Corid 20% powder it's pretty good. It's not the best, but it's better than the liquid. Liquid, I think, is 10%. But we'll use
Okay.
tetrazole or coxy medicine, and then that will give vitamins. Then we'll make sure vitamins. And I took a beating about it's probably been 3 years ago because we have always for a long time fed our chickens soaked dog food. We soak it in vitamins.
Okay.
And
Okay.
when I come out making all my videos and putting them on Facebook, man, people just went crazy about it, saying that they're not dogs, they're chickens. You're feeding them dog food and all these different stuff. You know, where they have a right to their opinion, but
Right.
shortly after, people started trying that, and they started messaging me. I'm talking about message after message after message. My chickens have never looked healthier since I'm doing it, this and this. So, something new, people just don't like it first. Usually it takes a while for them to get used to it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So tell me this: what age do you like? You say when they go ahead and they hit dirt, um, they pretty much free range on out there. How do you maintain? And I think this is a very difficult part for a lot, especially the new guys. How do you maintain the health of the chickens when they free ranging like that? Keeping an eye on which ones are sick and not, and not catching them too late when they are sick.
Yeah. Best advice is get you a 5-gallon bucket, sit down, and spend hours out there watching them. Once your work is
I got
done, you need to be looking. And we look at a lot of different things of course, we have dogs that protect the chickens, but there's a lot of different things that we watch in our selection. It's just not who performs better. It's who shows
right.
health through their whole life. For instance, when we feed chickens and we see 90% of the chickens are eating fine, and you got maybe, say out of 100, you got 10 of them, their heads are turning purple and black because they can't get their
Right.
food down good. Okay, but there's a problem there.
Right.
Okay, or the
Right.
chickens, you got them flying in a tree, and 8 of the stags can fly 20 foot, and you got one that can't go 5 foot. He's got to go from 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to get up there. I'm not going to select that
Right.
stag for breeding or for shipping because that stag is not up to where he should be. There's a lot of things to look
Got
for
you.
every day that you can see, hey, something's not right with this chicken.
Right.
He might not be his health, but every chicken's not the same. And you got to keep an eye on them and constantly watch them. And we cull.
Right.
If I see something on light, they're dead quick. They don't make it long.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's amazing. It looks like here we're pushing over an hour mark or about an hour mark.
Really? It seemed like it just started. Okay.
Yeah, man. Like I said before, you can't get 25 years in one interview, 1 hour interview. So, I would ask, if you can come back on the show again. Hopefully the next time you come, the show will be set up maybe a little bit different with, better audio or, I got some things I'm just going to try to improve upon. But I do feel as though these interviews are bringing extreme value to the sport in general. I I also greatly appreciate all the guests that comes on, because without y'all guys, there is no show. But we'll continue doing it where we're doing. I will try to upgrade, and the guys definitely, the viewers are definitely loving it. I ask everybody who comes on if you be willing to come on at a later date, so we can continue. Because again, we can only get so much information out in that hour worth of time. But just to kind of close it out, do you have any encouraging words? Put it this way. What would you tell yourself at 13, or when you was dreaming of owning your own gamecock farm?
Just keep listening and keep working. If you listen, God gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth. And when I was a kid, we did a lot of listening. I would tell kids now or anybody to listen to older people. I'm going to say something just a couple things real quick. First of all, thank you for doing the interview. You're doing a good job. I don't know that this has been done like this ever before, besides the guys that have already previously done it. So that's kudos to you. But the second thing, there's a lot of guys that could be up here. I'm nobody special, I can tell you that. I'm just a regular rooster person. I don't think of myself no better than anybody else. I work hard, do the best I can, and I let the cookie crumble the way it crumbles. But I do want to say one thing, and this really helped me when I was younger. No one besides Bob Ward, I don't know too many people that know about this. I was fortunate enough to be able to call Mr. Ward. I'm talking about Ward Sr., Hubert Ward, the late Hubert Ward, before he passed. And at that time, I was just starting out with my mug chickens. And he was at the top of his game at that time. He had won a big, if I remember right, there was like 279 entries in a long knife derby, 7 cock. I think they won it by themselves. Anyway, when I would call him and talk to him, he would tell me things about breeding. He would tell me things about selling chickens. And nobody knows this. To this interview, I've not told really anybody besides maybe Mr. Bob Ward as grandson.
Wow.
And so he helped me. And so that has really blessed me to where he didn't have to help me. I was a nobody. Yes. I mean, no one even heard of me. But he still took time to talk to me on the phone. I wasn't buying chickens from him. He just was there for me. And I don't know if he did that to everybody, but he took a liking to me. And I still remember that today. Very thankful. So in my response to people that want to call, they want to message and things, it just makes me think, you know what, I was there once where I didn't know a lot about this and that, and people helped me. So I would just say be kind to each other. That would be my word. Be nice, be kind.
Those are some beautiful, strong words. And you're exactly right. And I'm almost in that position of you, but just on the reverse side. I'm just a nobody in this sport, and to reach out guys, reaching out, majority of all the guys that I reached out to have welcome, me asking them to say, hey, would you like to come on? I'm just a nobody. I'm just trying to do something that will benefit all. And one day later on, maybe down the road, I'll get into the history of how all of this all started. All started. This whole idea of journey to the pit and doing things. And, I talk to a lot of guys. I'm not going to get into detail, but one day in the future, it kind of goes back. One day I'll be able to tell my story of how this whole thing of journey to the pit even started. But I'm so grateful to guys like yourself, the previous guests, and the guests that came on, because, hey, when you're a nobody, you already know you get a lot of rejection. So because you're just a nobody, it's like, I sent out friend requests. Why would I accept his friend request? That guy's a nobody. You send out a message, you might not even get a response. So I'm so grateful and appreciative that all of y'all guys that's been so successful, y'all very humble, but so successful. All of y'all guys have taken me up on my offer. And it just shows me that y'all guys are willing to serve something greater than yourself, because this ain't about you. You know what I mean? What you're talking and what you're telling and what you're educating people on is benefiting people that might never buy a bird from you. Never.
That's
They
right.
might never buy a bird from you.
That's
But
right.
it doesn't keep you from putting out great information and helping people that you'll probably never meet, you'll probably never do business with. But the fact of the matter is, you're helping something that impact your life. You're helping that to continue to live on. So somebody later on, another generation, 2 generations, whatever, can continue to have the positive impact that we have both had from this sport.
That's right. It's about helping people. It's about being good to people. I've been around hospital beds where people were dying, and I've never seen anybody as famous as they were call for all their trophies, call for all the medals that they've won. What do? They call for family members. They call for loved ones. That's what it's about. It's about relationships, not hardware. Hardware rusts, it corrupts, it goes in a closet someplace, in a basement. It's about relationships with people.
That's right. That is what it is about. That is what it's about. You close this one out strong. Again, I want to greatly thank you. I appreciate you coming on. You did. Yes, you did. I don't know if you directly agreed to come back on, but I'm gonna put it back out there again.
I would love to come back on. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So listen, we're gonna close this show out. I from just to look at the messages the comments that they was coming through, the guys really appreciate it. Everybody really enjoyed it. I always like to close it out with these 3 words that were told to me by somebody I love and I live by them. Stay focused, stay positive, stay blessed, and we'll see y'all guys next Friday at 9 p.m.
Amen. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. All right, talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.